Welcome back to another episode of the Broskiedoodles podcast. And we, once again, are blessed to have our dear friend Diego here on the podcast. And he's here. He's back again because he couldn't stay silent. He couldn't do it. He just he felt there was a deep thing he needed to talk to us about, and I for one am super welcoming. Before we get into that, I want to always, as you know, you guys understand, or you guys know, that Kiko Flo, the one, the only, is also in the building, so we're not forgetting about him either. And Diego, the man, the myth, the legend, myself included, Stevie D. Welcome to the Broskiedoodles podcast. Diego, I'm gonna pass this one off to you, man. What's going on? What's burning on your heart these days?
All right, so once again, thanks for having me.
It's all good.
So yeah,
And you think about your fucking words very carefully.
I was apologizing
Right
to
now.
Kiko a couple of seconds ago.
You
coming off a bit
think
strong
of your
in the
words
last episode.
very carefully when you come into this podcast. Especially now that I have the Sevilla hat. Just,
Right.
you know. All right?
Rocking the Spain bandera right there on your head.
Oh, is that what
All right,
that is?
so-
I thought he was just trying to be Jason Mraz.
No, that is a Spanish bandera.
So after 37 episodes that I've been listening to and just been arguing by myself in the car or exercising or walking, there was a subject that really got to me. And the reason why it got to me is that I lived in Colombia. I was telling this to Steve as a privileged kid before I had to leave because I got kidnapped. Me and my family were kidnapped in Colombia, and in the 90s we had to live to the US, and that's why I lived in the US for like, I don't know, over 10 years. Then I had to go back to Colombia, and as a young adult I started seeing the world a bit different. I wasn't a spoiled child anymore, and I started looking for things that started making sense, specifically money-wise. Like, I left home when I was 17, and I started questioning things like socialism and communism. And that's why these past episodes with Santi about UBI, whether it's good, welfare, whether it's good, they touched a pretty deep part inside of me where I'm still undecided, but I've had my ideas. First of all, I do think that in like Canada, you should be able to have all of your basic needs met. If you want to be a stoner and just smoke out, and that should be able to be considered.
You're already offending Gigo.
Oh no, come on! We all know me.
No,
the amount of pot that I've
No,
smoked
well,
over the
we all
time.
don't know. The Broskiedoodles don't, but let's just leave it like that. But it's just the way that you started was just like,
Well, the thing is that
if you want to smoke weed and like, you know, do podcasts and think you're gonna fucking, you know, get somewhere. I mean, whatever, you know, that's you. We
no,
respect
that's definitely
that.
not where I'm going. The idea behind that phrase is that it's beautiful how in Canada they don't objectify the fact that you're a drug consumer, even if it's not weed, even if it's something heavier or lighter, pharmaceuticals or whatever. The state will provide you with the necessity for you to not have to go out of your way to consume that and still be functioning within society to take that abuse to the maximum level of your potential. That's something that I believe in. I believe that as a consumer of many things, I don't think that has to put me out of society's productive margins, you know. Also, because I'm working on projects that are not being completely beneficial to the current state of an economic system in that place, that I should be left out of that economic system. If I'm met with everything that I need, housing, food, and whatever I need to take to keep my mind properly working and my emotional system in check, then why not, you know?
Yeah, but the question is how does it get paid, right? Like, all these things that you're talking about giving to the people that need it, right? Need to be paid. Like I think that's what the discussion leads to. Like I think we all want, and if I'm maybe interpreting what you said wrong, let me know. But like I think we all want people that need help to get the help, and we all want people to live better. Ultimately, now I worry about how certain plans are made by certain political parties without any regard, or with disregard to the cost of it, and who's gonna pay for it, and if it's gonna be morally right, or if it's even possible. So when we talk about you talk about with Santi, we talked that day about UBI. We talked about social programs. We talked about taxes. Where do you think you fall in the debate of like, okay, people that have businesses and create wealth for themselves, but also create many jobs and provide services that make people's lives better? Are they to blame? Like, is it bad that they have so much money, or is it rightfully deserved? And then the people at the bottom, like I think you told me recently, you sent me like a quote which I think sounded good. It said, like, do you blame the world for your situation, or do you take responsibility? And so, how do you tie that all together? Where do you fall in that scheme of thought?
All right, that's awesome. That's a great question, because for us to have the people that need that basic income, per se, to be able to live properly without them having to do shady shit on the side, you need those rich ass people to pay taxes. Like me in Spain right now, let's say I have a $10,000 contract, 41% of that is going into taxes. And I have no problem with that. I live pretty good. However, I could be doing that on the side without paying taxes, keeping that 41% for me, go into unemployment, and then get the unemployment checks that rightfully, quote unquote, I would be able to get. So that's when the subject about do those people that make like $200 billion are morally wrong? Nah, I don't believe that's accurate, because why does someone having a good projection for business become a stepping stone in morale? Like, is it like a drug dealer that's maybe creating a mafia and killing a shitload of people and leaving a lot of people like on the side to be able to make that money? Or is he making it legit? Like I remember I made some notes about the things that were controversial and the things that need to be reassessed, and the main one is fact or opinion. Is it a fact that we all need to buy shit from Amazon? It's not. That's an opinion. That's because just we want to buy shit from Amazon, and we'd rather spend our money there than maybe stocking up for the next pandemic before prices go up. Do we need water? Do we need food? Do we need shelter? Do we need somewhere to be able to live properly with our family without going into a depression state, without being able to create limits for ourselves to develop, I don't know, the artist world properly, whether it is photography or music? We need that. That's a fact. We need to be able to be mentally and emotionally stable to be able to move forward in the world. But if I right now start a business that tomorrow makes $200 billion and I'm doing everything well, my taxes are paying for those people's being able to live like that. So how is that morally wrong? Is it morally wrong that I'm blaming other people for being successful? Well, I can have 100 opinions about that shit, but that's not going to change the facts. And I think
do you think ultimately that the fact that you created a vision about a business and then it worked and it was successful, that as long as it was all done legitimately, there's nothing morally wrong of you having that much money, right? That's what you're saying.
Yeah, at all. Oh, specifically having people like, well, just thinking about Amazon. Like when I was living in that shit little town with under 1,000 people, where there's like 3 stores, and I wanted to get something for my camera, Well, my only resource was Amazon or AliExpress to be able to get that business. So am I to be able to, am I going to feel bad about them people being rich because I'm benefiting from that?
No.
What about all those other people in third world countries that are not able to go to like a micro center, which is a store that I really hope to get to be able to go and walk into one day, or B&H or B&H in New York. I'm not able to do that shit, but I'm always aware of the market value, how it moves up and down in Amazon, and I project my whole income during the year to be able to buy in those specific dates to save a bunch of money. Does that make me responsible for making them more money? No, I'm just thinking about myself. I'm not thinking, oh shit, I'm gonna do it so they could get less money. At the end of the day, we're all spending our money in whatever way we think it's responsible. And let's not talk shit. Those people are paying taxes. Sure, there's a lot of way that they can move around their taxes. And like right now we just spend, we're in October. Right here in Spain, I'm pretty sure in a lot of other countries, we're in the trimester where we have to declare taxes and pay a lot of the trimester taxes. And right now I just paid about 41% of my trimester's income. Am I mad about that shit because it's going to be able to help other people live well?
Yes.
No, I'm not.
Am I mad these motherfuckers are taking half of the shit that I made without putting any fucking thing in? I mean, I kind of feel a certain way about it. But am I cool that it's helping the people that need it? Okay.
No. No. No, you know, it's funny. I don't know if I'm digressing a little bit too much here, but I want to know, the other day I filled out like who should I vote for link, and one of the questions was about taxing specifically these people who are super rich. And so it started off with it saying like, do you think that we should tax the rich more? And it was yes or no, and I'm like no. And then it says more options, and I'm like all right. It said yes, but it should be a flat tax, or yes, it should be stricter regulations or something like that. And then there was like the no ones, like no, they whatever, like the opposition. And I guess I want to know, like, do you guys think that there's a type of, there's a happy median to, yes, if I do kind of understand and see that in order for there to be more money in the system for those who are less fortunate, and we're not going to even get into the topic of people who are willing to work and not willing to work, but if there needs to be money moved into the system, then the rich need to be taxed more. How would you see there being a better method of taxing the rich? Specifically, like, do you think it should be a flat tax? Do you think we should do away with deductions, like, but maintain the bracket? Like, how do you see that?
Well, the thing is that taxed is leveled out to your income. If you make $600 a month, you're getting taxed 21%. You're obviously paying way less than if I make $10,000 a month and paying that same 21%. So it's always going to be way more for the people that make more money.
Well, so my understanding of the tax brackets is that you pay more taxes the more you go up, but not by percentage, but by the bracket that you are in. So I don't know if it might be a flat tax where you guys are at, and that's why I'm curious if that is the system that works over there. You guys were saying 41%. The numbers being thrown around 21%, but do you think that here in the U.S. maybe, because I'm not an economist, or I don't really dial down. We know. But Kiko knows more than me in this topic, and maybe you do too, Diego. But basically, I just want to know, do you think that a flat tax, if everyone who works pays 20% back, or do we do like once you reach 55, once you reach 100K, once you reach $1 million a year, if you go from paying 17%, 22%, 33%, you know what I'm saying? Like these brackets. Well, because I don't believe in the brackets personally. I think that it should be a flat tax, but I want to know your opinion.
Well, I was gonna ask you about the brackets because I really don't know about the brackets. I really
Well, the
just
thing
started.
is, to start off, Steven thinks that brackets are a social construct. Brackets are a social construct, sort of like genders are nowadays.
I'm totally lost you, but
I'm
sure.
just fucking with you. Steven pretty much doesn't like the brackets. What are the brackets? Well, just like it is like this in Spain as well, Steve. Depending on how much you make, you fall under a specific percentage of income tax that you gotta pay, and the more you make, that percentage gets higher. So depending on the bracket that you're in or section that you're in, right? Like if in here, if you don't make more than 21,000 in Spain, you don't pay any taxes. If you make up to 50, you pay like 14% or 20%, and you keep going 35%. So that's what he's saying.
So I'm actually looking at him here
I don't know
in
about
2020.
that. Holy shit! I could be saving money because I make less than 20,000 a year so
welcome
far.
to being a fucking Republican.
Yeah, so maybe the thing is people don't actually go online and research things and find out ways that they could save money depending on their tax bracket. Something that you could find by just Googling.
Tax
The
bracket.
thing is that I have a lawyer and an accountant, so they're probably not doing the research because I pay them to
They
do
gotta
that.
get fired, dude. Is this the lawyer
get it.
from Making Bad? Breaking Bad?
No, yeah. So I mean, I understand not getting taxed up to a certain amount, say 21,000. That's really hard to make to live on. Period. Per year. So okay, let's not tax
here.
those.
That's the thing. Here you could live easily. Let's say in a big city like Madrid, with like 20,000 bucks a month, a year. That's living very good. Like in the small city that I'm living at, all of our expenses with my wife, traveling, paying our car, buying our new car next year, another car, and living very well, we don't even get to 12,000 a year.
Wow.
That's less than her salary, just one salary. So all of the contracts that we make on the side, that's savings. Nonetheless, we still pay taxes full. And well, I'm kind of OCD on the legislative. That's why it's kind of a surprise of the brackets for me, because I have all the forms. For like the 130 form is the IRFP, which is where I have to pay what they call retención. That's for every amount of money you get paid, you have to save that. And on April, like in the US, you get either return taxed or you pay whatever you didn't save up. But apart from that, there's the basic tax, which is the 21%. The IRFP is 15% base, and the common tax is 21%. Going back to that example, I have a $10,000 contract. I have to save 21%, and that's legally what I have to pay, under 21,000 bucks a month. If that's the only contract I have in the year, right now, what I've been told,
that's 21,000 a year.
Yeah, exactly. If I just make that contract of 10,000 a year, which is pretty good for me to live here in this small town where I live at, if that's all I make, I still have to pay that 21% flat tax and that IRFP of 15% here legally for me to not get any problems with the equivalent of the IRS,
Right?
which is
Except
Hacienda.
you don't give a fuck about them.
I do, of course.
No, I'm saying, okay, so look, but the 21% that you're talking about is the one that you should be adding to the cost of it and that the client pays.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Right,
but
so like if you're selling a product for 100,000, you will need to charge them 121 to pay for that tax. And then
and from that I have to deduct 15%, which will leave me
but you
with
only
like
deduct
101.
15 out of the full 100. And then like for example, if it costs 100, the client pays 121, and then the 21 go to the government as sales tax, and then from your 100, 15% are taken from the income tax.
Yeah, exactly. Which leaves me with less than the 100% that I have to pay.
Yeah.
That I would get. Exactly.
Yeah.
So now that we've gotten everyone's finances taken care of, no, but I'm just saying, like, for instance, do you believe that there should be a bracket system, or do you believe that no matter how much money you make, you pay a flat tax? And
flat tax, definitely.
Flat tax, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Because that way, if you are a super smart businessman that makes 200 billion, you know what I'm saying? That probably that bracket doesn't exist. That bracket never thought that person would make that much money. You know what I'm saying? And also, let's keep in mind too that depending on just because the company makes 200 billion doesn't mean that the one person makes 200 billion. You get what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
You know,
And that's where you get deductibles. Because let's say I save a lot of money on deductibles. I'm very organized with deductibles, but I have another couple of friends that are also like freelancers, autonomous, as they call them here. You have to pay for that, a quote per month. And if you want to get it sorted out right, you have to pay to an accountant. But it's a flat rate as far as I know, right? For the first 2 years, since I'm new at it in this country, I get a 75% discount, which is huge for me. But after those 2 years, I'm going to have to pay as much as my friends. The thing is that my friends don't try to keep an organized deductibles record, and that's where most of the time I save almost from 50 to 70% of my taxes in deductibles, while my friends, since they don't have that record, they have to pay everything 100%. And that's where my question is that a bracket, or how does that work with the deductibles?
No, that's a racket. It's a bit different. That's a racket. What you're doing, deducting absence and LSD tabs from your taxes, that's a racket. That's not a bracket.
There's an app that I use here for our freelance work,
which is called Racket Bracket.
It's called Racket Bracket app. No, it's called Capital with a Q. And basically, every time that you get a deposit, you set the parameters. Say, you know, if I get paid more than $300, or if you have an account that you just specifically have that is for your incoming freelance work, right? Anytime that you see a deposit, I want you to remove 17% and take it to an account. Now, Capital it has its own account. It's like it takes your money out from your bank and into their account. Right. So at the end of the year, when it comes time to do your taxes, you go to your accountant, you try to deduct as much as you can, but you already have the money that you're supposed to pay.
Right.
If you didn't deduct anything, you know what I mean?
I mean, ideally,
and
you
so
would want to be able to just save it yourself without having to have that little like piggy box.
Well, I'm just saying for I'm probably like your friends, Diego, where I'm not good at keeping track of everything, you know. So I use that app to leverage an automatic auto save feature, and you can do that a lot now with your own banks too, you know. But I'm just saying. So I use. Sorry,
I wasn't trying to knock on.
No, man, whatever. It's all good. but
like
now
some people need abacus.
Yeah.
You know?
Hey, what? Hey. I kind of fuck with abacus.
The young one's gonna be like, who that abacus?
Exactly. Abacus? And but like keeping track of the things that you purchase and the things that, you know, how much miles you drive and all these things. At least this is what can be deducted here. I'm not sure how it is over there, but I'm sure it's
depending
like
on the type of listing that you have as a freelancer, you could deduct, like, let's say
internet.
Internet, gas, because I have to travel a lot, and all of my photography equipment, all of the computer gears that I buy, all of that I can deduct it.
Yeah. So I guess what I'm saying is that, like, if we're gonna do this UBI thing, right, and in my opinion, and what we were saying before is, if we're gonna do this UBI thing, we should probably remove all entitlement programs. You know, we're gonna get rid of Social Security. We're going to get rid of welfare, EBT or food stamps. I'm not sure how that would be affected, but, you know, let's just leave that there, right? Because we'll leave EBT, but in the, you know, on the major ones, right? Then that's when I say, okay, we could do UBI if we get rid of that, right? But if we're going to do that, then we should also, on the flip side, give something to, you know, be fair and say, hey, we're going to do a flat tax. You know, doesn't matter how much you make, you know, and then you as a business owner could tax your company accordingly, whatever it is, but you cut yourself a salary. So you decide how much money you want to make a year. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, totally. I believe the first mistake of a freelancer is not treating themselves as a business and an employee. If I just take all the income that I make and I spend it as an individual and I'm not saving a percentage of that for what I'm building as a company, then I'm starting to fuck up. And that's where I start to mention that phrase that Kiko quoted. Do I start blaming the world because I'm not being successful as a business? Or do I take responsibility that I'm not being a good businessman or woman and projecting my business as a business, just handling it like as an individual, which I could do if I was an employee from a third company because they're doing that themselves. But yeah, I get you. However, having being raised in a split home, in a family where my mom pretty much had to take care of my 3 brothers, and one of them being crippled with disabilities. Would UBI be enough for her and taking away all of the other helps that she was able to get? Well, she never got help because she never applied for any of that. That's like where I was doing it. But for the people that need it, I don't think that's the same as a struggling artist on with their own needs as a woman that has, or a man that has 3 kids and one of them with disabilities. If you take away all that stuff that they're going to need, luckily my family didn't need it, but like I don't need unemployment right now, but there's a lot of families that do need it. And that's where I draw the line between there's people that need UBI and there's people that need UBI and so many other things because they're not just themselves and their kids are not able to cash in on that extra income.
Yeah, but the thing is, in these cases, I would say that the UBI would work in a way where, like, let's say your mom gets UBI, right? But then she has kids. The UBI will have some sort of, like, clause, like, for every kid you have, you get 300 extra, or some shit like that. Because I don't think... I mean, first, who gets a UBI? Anyone over 18?
I don't know. That's not my wheelhouse. But I would say that...
No, I'm saying, like, it's not... I mean, regardless of the wheelhouse, like, where would we have to put a... Because you couldn't make it so that everyone alive has it. Because then...
Right, you have
you're
to
just going to have people having kids in the hoods.
Like for unemployment, you can't get unemployment just by being 18. You have to apply for it. There's research between what you've done.
Yeah, but
and
the
how
UBI thing is supposed to be like you just give it to everyone.
Yeah, the universal basic income gets rid of all administration. So like instead of us paying for
explain.
Yeah, so instead of us paying like these people to vet the research and vet this and then also get lost in administrative costs, and I'm sure there's a little bit of fraud going on and things like that. You actually minimize that, right? So like Kiko actually had the numbers, and we pay, I don't know, like 30 or 40% of it. What was it, Kiko? That's just lost in translation.
Yeah. Well, what? So we collect, from what I understand, we collect about. Fuck, I don't remember the numbers, but it was something like the amount of taxes that we collect is more than what it would take to have UBI installed. Obviously, we're getting rid of everything else, of all health programs. And then once you have that in place, you are actually duplicating the effective amount of what you're using, because all welfare programs have like almost close to 50% loss in bureaucracy, in policing, in administrative.
Right. Yeah, I don't know.
Steven, are you gonna play some bass or?
Yeah, I'm just plucking around. I do you hear it?
No, but I'm just like. I've
been
been waiting for you to be like, hey guys, I want to show you something personal.
Like in Seinfeld, every time we make a punchline or something, you just go like pow 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 pow.
I just wanted to make sure, like, are you engaged or are you having your bass class at the same time and not giving a fuck about it?
No. I'm engaged. I just wanted to like get my finger work here done.
For all the
So-
listeners, Steven is actually starting to slap at the bass, and he's actually taking bass classes. If you could,
Yeah.
you know.
Really cool guy, Demian. He's got his own podcast too. It's called Music Mentor. So you should. Yep, I'm just giving him a shameless plug right here. Here you go. For those who are
He's
listening.
cool, man. He's cool. At this stage, we're not charging for those. So hey, man, do your thing, But yeah, he's learning to slap at the bass, and I'm super glad because me, as a musician, I was like, yo. So I'm super glad because if he's slapping a bass and if he gets good at it, then maybe he can slap at my bass.
Yeah, that was awesome.
By that I mean, like the instruments that I would have in my studio, because I could be interpreted like he could be slapping my personal bass that's like attached to me, but that wouldn't be a bass. So I don't know. But some people out there could look at it a different way, which is cool because I have nothing against the gays, but I'm not myself. At least I don't think so.
That
was long.
Over-explained. That was nice. I really like that when I was like starting to get into the Squadcast thing, you guys.
What?
Yeah, Kiko was like telling you something about a scale or something, and I'm like, oh shit, nice. I actually thought that Kiko was teaching you how to slap that bass.
No, he's So I've got a couple of musical people in my life, and it's cool because like it ranges, right? Like in our last podcast, we were talking about cameras and stuff, and we could talk as easily about cameras as about economic policies, as music. That's what we love the podcast. Really, it's just typical topics, typical guys or gals, and you know what I mean. Just necessary
Typical
conversation. Exactly.
Yeah. No, but yeah, it is true. Necessary conversations, I think, is the thing, because we always struggle so hard to find an identity to the podcast, but it's like the identity is that we're typical people looking at the vast world that we're living in and the vast amount of information that you have to consume and then try to make sense out of it. So, talking about this UBI stuff makes me really think, like, just in general, it's so hard to like compromise and find like a meeting point in things,
Right.
Like, obviously, this podcast is really just a fuck around, but we try to sometimes make sense, and the thing is, I want people to be better. And I don't know if people think that because me and Steven normally lie a little bit to the right of the center, that, we're some kind of way, because there are some people nowadays that don't even have that in them to fucking discuss with somebody that they don't agree with 100%. But it's like, being in that situation is just, you want to be open to talk to everybody and debate things that are important, because otherwise, what's the answer? Like, we all kill each other? No, I think we got to talk about this shit. And I mean, and you've heard many podcasts here where we have people that don't agree with us, and that's super cool,
Yeah.
That's why I enjoy so much listening to this podcast, and why I was so excited to be able to be here, because like I told you guys, I've been in like 3-hour rides when I'm just like, oh, what the fuck are they talking about? And in other episodes, I'm like, yeah, totally, man.
Yeah.
It's pretty nice, definitely.
Yeah.
Well,
Excited.
now that you're here, because like, people think like, normally if you're in a position like this, you don't want anything negative to come about, but like, we want everybody to be able to have their opinion, and now that we're small, we're able to sort of address it in a more direct way. But I mean, not to get out of the UBI situation, which we can continue to speak, but was there any other topics that you were hearing us maybe on our way to some little town in Spain, and then me and Steven said some shit that you're like, man, if I had this guy next to me, I would just straight up slap him in the face, like flick his dick, like, yo, what the fuck?
I remember episode, I'm not sure if it's 32 with Daniela about gender equality. Right. So, well, first of all, with the UBI, I think being in a country like Colombia, like closing that subject, where I had family in government that were actually controlling the way that income was spread out through the less fortunate, per se, I got to see how much corruption there was inside of that. So for a system like UBI to take out the middleman that's trying to keep that corruption away, I think that would just, I mean, what keeps me from having people that die making fake social security numbers to collect their UBI? who's going to make sure that that doesn't happen?
No, that's why there is a valid like reason as to probably why this hasn't been implemented. It just seems a little bit too.
Yeah, but no, but take a look at it. Like it's already. But look at it this way: the people that you're talking about in Colombia that steal all this money from government, right? The reason why they're able to steal it from government is because the money that comes in from the taxpayers, they're supposed to analyze that budget and decide what needs to be used to do what things. So then they grab this pot and they're like, we're gonna keep 90%. I mean, it changes depending on how corrupt your country is. But for example, in Venezuela, you take 90% straight to the dome, you know, and then with the other 10%, you pay off some people to shut the fuck up, and then with 1%, you do a little bit of whatever infrastructure you were gonna make to show the people, oh look, or you. So at the end of the day, when you make it less transparent, right, it's harder for you to follow the corruption. But when you say, look, every money that comes here in is gonna be split into $1,000 checks every month to other people, it's a lot easier to keep track of that. Yes, you are gonna have every system is gonna have like little fucking hackers, right, creating social accounts so they can get the thing sent to them, of course. But compare that to the amount of money that gets stolen by the fact that there's people controlling those funds directly when they arrive and decide how they're gonna be used. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
there's just a lot easier to fucking steal it all when you control the system within, rather than you trying to hack the system and trying to get like one little profile there. But I mean, I totally get you. But do you see, like, I just think it's like not as vast as it is already with the system we have in place in our countries.
Right, right. For me, the problem is the people. And that brings me into the other subject, which is what jobs do we replace with AIs or programming, which I love because I remember once my brother, who's a programmer, for Out of Desk, he quoted, programmer is always working on how to get rid of his job and still have a job. Because programmers are always making bots and automatizing the way they work so that other people could do it, or that people don't have to do it anymore. So this is a perfect example of where we have to get rid of the people that are making that shit unviable, unproductive by corruption, and have an AI analyze it so that if you're making fake IDs to be able to collect that UBI, you actually notice that this person actually died 3 years ago because there's a declaration of a disease declaration, and you no longer have to keep in on top of that. Definitely, I do believe that there's a 50-50 blame in between the people that are taking advantage of the system from with the administration and from the other side. That's why I do believe in UBI, but I do believe that it has to happen further on when we're able to get rid of the shitty people that are actually doing that.
Yeah,
and it's not by getting people.
Bro, but the thing is, I want to clarify, at least from my end. I think Steven agrees, but obviously, we are two independent people. But the way that I looked at this is, it's not that I like UBI. I just think UBI is a better alternative to the current welfare system. If you ask me what's ideal is a 10% flat tax for everybody, and we take care of very basic shit that has to do with your own protection of your private property, a very, very basic medical system for emergencies, and like police and firefighters. You gotta have to have a little bit of military. Okay, now that's not gonna happen ever, because we're never gonna go that. We're not gonna trace back that, like a true libertarian. It's never gonna happen. So what we have in place now is a welfare system that's unfair, is inefficient, and is easily corrupted. So UBI reduces all of those things. Mm-hmm. It cannot be zero, because at the end of the day, it's being managed by the fucking government, which is the problem, right? But it's either that, or we fucking go to Wild Wild West with sheriffs and shit, and we fucking shoot each other and like those. I mean, it would be cool to do those little duels, like. But so what I'm trying to say is with this is like, what do you eliminate? You eliminate motherfuckers trying to cheat the system and say like, I'm disabled but I am disabled, or I'm poor but I'm not poor, or I'm working on the side so I'm still unemployed and getting checks. You remove those fuckers. You remove the people inside that are inefficient, by nature, not ill intended, just inefficient. You get rid of the ill intended motherfuckers that are stealing from the inside, and you get rid of the unfairness of why some people receive it and others not, which also gets rid of the policing. Yes, there's gonna be somebody that's well off and still gets $1,000 a month, but he's able to use that and save it so that he can grow. And that's also fair, so that the broke motherfucker that gets the 1,000, well, he gets it and he's using it for food and shelter and shit. But it's fair because everybody's getting it. So those are all the positive things that it adds to it. But again, it's not like I defend it like it's my fucking glory thing to go through. Right. I just think it's a lot better than the system we have in place now.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, exactly. I don't want to take away from your thing, but he said that I don't think that that's the best option, but the problem is that it's the closest option.
Right.
For me,
Right.
So, what do you think?
I don't know. The things that I've never been in that situation. I've never actually known someone that has been in that situation where has had to resource to the government for money. Even with this whole pandemic thing, like.
Do you think that it would cause more people to not work? That's the other side of the coin of that argument. Do you think that once we give people this basic universal income, that they would just morally stop working?
Yeah, I don't know how the term morally works in there, but I do think that it will help out by giving people a bigger chance to assess their psychological and emotional stability, because most people aren't working because they want to be working in that. It's because they just want to keep their basics in. And that's where I agree with the UBI or with any type of system where people are having their basics met so that they could work out to know what it is that they want to do, and that's where I believe, well, I can't remember exactly what number episode it was, but not sure if it was you or Santi that mentioned that during the pandemic, people realized that people needed to do something. For me, the pandemic, it's kind of, it is real because I know it's been happening and shit. But since I've been used to work in front of my computer and to have my own, what do you call it? My own schedule. Yeah, my own schedule. My day by day without anybody having to look over my shoulder. I wake up at the same time. I exercise. I eat. I get on my computer 12 hours a day or go and look for business elsewhere. For me, the whole pandemic thing, and for most of my family, it didn't happen. Like it's there because I know it's real, but it didn't affect me. And the fact that I was missing going outside, or that I needed to go and socialize, because I do socialize, but it didn't take away from my business. But I do think that the UBI, or a system where people's needs are met, it's going to help them a lot in that whole, specifically in the U.S., the depression that brings them to the triangle where it's work, spend, entertained, but there's really little self buildup. Like as an artist has that. An artist is always spending each little second that they have to their own to get better at their craft, and it's what they project as their life and what they want to get to do. A lot of people worldwide don't get to do that. Like I get people close to me, around me, that I see them miserable at their job, and they haven't had the time to experiment anything else, and that just keeps taking them deeper into that kind of unaware state of depression, where they don't even know that they're depressed because they haven't had therapy. They don't know how to assess where they're going into a rabbit hole from just keep the cycle within that triangle that keeps them expanding, and then they go take that into their generations, descending into their next generation and into their next generation, and they don't see how that keeps them away from a complete success. That it's like, first of all, me being stable mentally and emotionally, and then being able to invest the time that I need to work my craft, whether it is that I'm happy as an employee and I want to be the best employee ever, or as a photographer, an architect, a musician. I think that's very important about. And I know we don't like communism, Kiko. I don't know about you, Steve, but
hell yeah.
That's the beauty of communism. But that's the beauty of communism.
Bring the commies here so I can shoot them in the bodega. That's Steven right there. Steven's is from Cuba. In Cuba, they don't like the communists at all unless you do them.
No,
yeah, I've always argued a lot about like the principle of Marx, which is like the principle of communism, where everybody gets to live fair. But then when they take it to that new age communism, where they think that just because everybody's able to get the same things, nobody could have anything else, like that problem that I saw for so long in Miami with Cubans and being very close with Cuban doctors that weren't able to have more benefits than their friends that weren't doing anything else as doctors. Then that's where I think the UBI will help a lot. But also, it's very, I'm not sure if the term is utopic. It's ideal, but it's not real. That's not going to happen. I mean, it's going to take a long time for people to realize, first of all, that mentally, psychologically, emotionally, they have to do a lot of research. That whole thing about eat, pray, love, find your own balance, and then be able to get to where you want to get, and then be able to get successful at many other things. I believe that's going to take a long time still. And UBI is not going to be able to be a viable option.
I mean, eventually what we're going to have to do is, the people that want to follow me, is we're going to have to buy an island, create a little country, tax haven, and just run shit from there. I mean, it's just going to have to be that way. They didn't give us any other options. So now we're going to have to buy a little island next to Leo DiCaprio and Johnny Depp. And
I hear Epstein's Island is for sale.
It's for sale, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear it must be cheap. I just don't know. I don't know how people would feel when we invite them over.
The thing why I believe that as a society worldwide we're still very
no. Tell us about
naive.
Epstein. What the fuck is going on?
I don't know about him. If it wasn't for your podcast, I wouldn't even know the name, honestly.
Oh, wow. You're just fucking around, doggy.
Us having a lot of land in Colombia, to people that didn't have shit, we offered them, do you want to have this piece of land? We'll give you food. We'll give you everything you need for you and your family to live well. And what you need to do is like a basic 40-hour-a-week work and get your salary. Most of those people didn't want that. Most of those people still had the urge to work, spend, and entertain, which is, it's normal. It makes sense. It's like the basics of urbanism as a society, and those are the 3 pillars of urban development.
What about? So what was it that they were all being offered? A place to stay, a farm and shit, but they needed to work the land and then give you the money that's made out of it. Like, how did it work?
We have land. We'll build the house for their family. People that had no house for their family. People that were living in like chabolas. I don't know how you call that. Like
favelas. The hood,
yeah,
dog,
like
in the motherfucking in the projects, dog.
but
more than that.
But not even in the outskirts of cities. But I'm talking like in the middle of a rural area, where all of what they were able to make was from their land. What they were able to make and consume was from their land. And I'm talking about families with 4 or 5 members of a family living in 50 square meters in 2 rooms, cooking
one
with
thing
stoves.
In parentheses is important. If you cannot afford your own life, not just have one kid, have many. Make it challenging. Sorry, go on.
Right.
That's what separates you from the boys.
Okay? If one is hard, have 5 from different daddies too. All right, so sorry.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, many of these families were like that. Like some of them were kids from a second or
But what
an
like
affair.
get to the nitty gritty. Like, what was it that you were offering?
Oh,
I give you this
complete
house and you give us back
self-sustainability.
what?
Complete
But what? But for the free? For free?
No.
You build a house for them.
Yeah.
They work on that land. They
Which is our
harvest,
land. Which
which
is
is
our
your
land.
and what
Yeah.
is harvested from your land or what is brought from your land, you handle that. They just need to make sure that they'll have a roof over their head, food on their table.
And they get a
purpose to do every
percentage
day.
of what we get from the land so they can make some money. Like just with quails. With quails, we develop an economic study which in 9 square meters, you can make enough for a family to live with a little bit more than the minimum wage in Colombia. And most of those people didn't actually want that. And
Okay, but why didn't they want it? Because it involved them working hard.
yeah, well, it's not even hard. It's 3 times a day feeding them, and that's it.
Okay,
But 'cause I
like,
tied
like
them
literally
up to that.
quails, like these are animals that then you sell
Yeah.
for eating.
Yeah, for eating, you could sell the eggs, you could sell the quail for eating and for breeding, which sell pretty good.
Okay, so let me just get this straight. I'm one of these campesinos, right? From the places I have, I'm a girl. I have 5 kids. Okay, so I have a husband. You come to me.
Whatever
you're like,
you
look,
identify with, bro, it's fine.
What? No, I mean that's what I identify with. So you tell me, look, we're gonna build on this land a little house and a little farm for you to live with your family, right?
Yeah.
And what you need to do is you need to work this land with the quails,
Yeah.
and then the quails, you just do that, and then we take care of those quails and we commercialize them and we sell them, etc. And then you give them a small percentage of those quail sales as like a bonus for them to have, on top of the
Exactly.
fact that they're living there and eating free because they eat from the land as well.
Exactly.
And is that what you were offering? And then they didn't want that because why?
They had other aspirations or they wanted to work in other things. You know what the funny thing is? The people that had money saw the business opportunity in that and they accepted that and they made like 6 times that amount of basic income that they wanted to get and they turned it into really good businesses. But the ones that needed just the basic income to live, they didn't want it. The business people that were
So you're
already
saying,
making
like,
money, they
people in
did.
higher classes ended up taking those opportunities that you provided them, even though you would think like this would have been a golden opportunity for those at the bottom.
Yeah, specific is 245 families in the sector that we were developing this. And we wanted to do it with the 5 families around us that were poor and that were struggling to make just a basic income. And we tried it with all 5 of them and none of them wanted it. The funny thing is that the higher class, because this is a place where, let's say there's someone like my family that has a lot of land and has a lot of money, and out of those 240 families there's like 12 families that are like my dad's family, that they have the means to be able to exploit that. The other families are literally families that have to go on a bike carrying like a shitload of weight of vegetables and fruits that they make in their little farmland in the backyard and try and sell it in the street. The thing is that they wanted that liberty to be able to do it their way. And that's where I think the UBI would be also a big problem, because you condition people to live a certain way, and most of the time they're going to try and do it a different way that is not beneficial to them due to education and projection of business.
Yeah, I mean, like I said at the beginning, I don't think we're voting for UBI. If it was up to me personally, like, no help. You go get it, right? Low tax, like pretty much the only tax we pay is for policing private property, and then the rest is just a wild, wild west. But the economy will be booming. Right?
For me, it's education. Because
Yeah,
for me, I feel lucky. I feel lucky because I've had education that has made me think differently that a lot of many others that I've had around me that have had way more money. And I'm not talking about the amount of money that people could have. I'm talking about the level of education that these people could have. And it's not school, it's community. That's what I think that money with UBI should be invested in. Like, it's really not going to help society if you give them $1,000, everyone,
Yeah, dude, but
as well as spending
fuck
the
you give this
people.
money to? 'Cause that's the problem.
Why
The
do you
guy
have to
that
give it
gets-
to someone? Why do you have to give that money to someone where you could just start fixing basic
Right, but
problems
okay, so but
like
this
like
is the
like
problem, though.
urbanism?
You say don't give it to someone, give it to the government so they can use it. The government is nothing, really. The government is people. So you are giving it to people that are gonna make a decision of like, oh yeah, let's spend this money this way. So it is one motherfucker deciding what they're gonna do with a bunch of money that's not theirs. That's where the problem lies. That when people see like, oh, we're gonna pay $4 billion in this program, all right, it's not my money. So you're not trying to fucking make that as efficient as possible, as in the private market. But that's the problem is that I get what you're saying. Like, okay, isn't it better if we use this for things that we know can improve the world instead of giving it to them for them to spend? Yes, but then who the fuck decides what it is that we need to do for them? You do schooling, okay? That works. But the problem is, it gets lost in the way. It's like a pipe system that doesn't work, and at every passing, water fucking drips.
Right.
That's the way I see it.
Totally, and I agree with you. That's why I believe more in urbanism than I don't believe at all in traditional education. I'm not one for, and I've done 2 careers in the university, and I went to normal school, and I think all of them are shit, honestly. Most of the things I've learned self-taught thanks to the internet, because for once in our lifetime, we have the means to learn the shit that we want to learn and get in touch with the people that we want to get in touch with. And that's why for the first time in the history of humanity, we have the ability to make things different, which is, yeah, it's not giving people all the money and it's not giving it to government, but it's investing in urbanism, which is just basically making sure that everybody is living well, that there's not going to be a ghetto, because that money that's being given to people to keep living in a ghetto the way they want to keep that quote unquote ghetto, which is a horrible term, that way is a government investment into making sure that the beautiful places of the cities are everywhere. And that's what makes people start wanting to open their mind to other things. Most people, when they go from a rural area or from a ghetto to a beautiful place, like let's say the center of Madrid, they start thinking about other things because it opens their mind and it connects them with other people, creative people, and people that are differently educated. And that's where I think that education, not as the traditional system of education, but as changing what education is, could really change things, which is then again just a hypothesis. This is nothing which I have an understanding of a study that has been done about it.
But generally speaking, I do agree. I feel, but it's how do you maintain the system and make people happy and give people what we've been giving them while at the same time still changing a system? And I agree with you. The reason why you didn't find, or at least I think, because I feel the same way, the reason why I didn't take away some kind of, epiphany from my college education is because I wasn't interested, nor do I feel like the way that I was learning was effective. However, I learned that by being and understanding how important education is, we were able to look and find and learn things on our own. Where if you don't know what education is, if you don't really subscribe to the idea, then you'll never go off and try to learn something on your own. So yes, it's part having the information accessible, and there's part believing in the in learning in general, and you only believe in learning once you've learned.
I think
Does that
the
make
key
sense?
word, I think it makes sense, and I think the key word there is education. I think it's another debate will be on how are we able to centralize this education so that it's not biased by the government in any way, but that it does provide all the necessary knowledge that kids need to progress in life and be good citizens. But I think that was a great way of looking at it, and Diego, thank you for that input. And I'm just grateful for this conversation. I think we gotta have more of these conversations where we delve into topics that are important and do understand that we're not experts at this. So at the end, it is our opinion from the knowledge that we have. We're not trying to say that we're experts at this, but hey, fuck it. Why shouldn't we and anyone just discuss things and try to think shit through and become better at life and knowing what can make society better? So, anything you guys want to add before we conclude this, guys?
No, I'm just grateful that Diego kind of shined some light, especially through his experiences, and I hope to keep on having you on the show, whenever you feel like coming on. So thanks, man.
Thanks. Well, there is one thing that I want to add, and it's how much time.
Oh my God.
Come on, guys. It's my first time in the Broskiedoodles.
All right, man, go. We're gonna have to pay these guys overtime. All right, go. Go.
It's how much
we
time,
care. Go.
It's how much time we spend entertaining ourselves or educating ourselves, because at the end, most of the time that I see people around me that have amazing potential are just flipping through Instagram or TikTok and just cracking up. That same time could be spent watching tutorials or getting out of the comfort zone and being away from that dopamine addiction to just laugh and put in the work, because that's the hardest thing to get people to do. Get out of their comfort zone to progress.
Agreed.
That's it. I swear, nothing else.
No, that's really 100%. Cool, man. Like I myself and I really hope that the Broskiedoodles acts as this for many people. Like I listen to a lot of audiobooks and podcasts while I'm doing other things, and like in your case, you're going driving to a town because you got to do work, and you put the podcast, and it provides you maybe some entertainment, but also some knowledge on things, and that's what I do with other content. So I think that we're at an age where we can actually make it so that all this content can work for us, and it's so much easier to extract it from the internet. So definitely get better at all that shit and get that knowledge. And I'm just saying this because I need to have the final word on my podcast, and I felt like Diego was coming in. No, I'm just kidding. Stevie, anything else?
No, man. That final word is yours.
Don't let him shine like that.
No, he's.
Thank you guys for having me.
He's awesome for coming on.
He's still like acting humble about it and cute and shit. Like, fuck him.
Hey, fuck Kiko. Don't worry about him. Thanks for tuning in, guys. And Diego, we'll see you back here again, I'm sure. Peace.
All right. Peace, guys. Thanks.
Peace, man.